How's it going, guys? It's been a while since I've done this. About 8 months, in fact. I hope you have all been well. A lot has happened in the arm wrestling world since I've been gone. We've got a few things to talk about today. First of which is the Brian Shaw match announcement. It just came out. He's going to be facing Leonidas in Germany at East vs. West 23. So that is incredibly exciting. I am very invested in the career of Brian Shaw. I'd love to see him do well, as most of you probably do as well. So very excited for that. Then we've got the Ryan Bowen versus Bogdan Stoica drama, and it's more so to do with Robert Baxter and Ryan Bowen. I had some trouble tracking down how exactly that drama started, but we'll get into that. And then we've also got the Infinity Gauntlet, which Devon has said if he wins it, he will melt it. It's incredibly ugly, and I agree with Devon. It needs to be melted. And why don't we just have a gold-plated legacy hammer? That sounds pretty awesome. We'll get into that as well. What needs to happen with the Infinity Gauntlet? Should we bring back the legacy hammer? We'll get into that. And then also I'd like to talk about a few matches that I am very interested in and excited for in the upcoming East vs. West 22 card. All right, so Brian Shaw just recently released a video on his channel announcing his upcoming match with Leonidas Arcona. Now, just a couple days before, he released a video where he was training with Brad Grundy and Corey Miller. And this is the video that I was initially going to talk about when I was making this video. And then I saw the new match announcement and I was quite excited. So let's talk about the training video, because I think this training video highlighted a lot of concerns that I've had with Brian Shaw since he's started competing. And that is how badly he gets extended when he goes for the top roll. And make no mistake, they are trying to form Brian into an elite top roller. He has such a strong hand, such strong grip strength that it's kind of a no-brainer to really train him to be a good top roller. A lot of big guys, I've noticed, they really have a tendency to want to press. They just, maybe it's the height, maybe it's because they just feel like they can get behind their shoulder or their hand with their shoulder really easily. But oftentimes, bigger guys, they just really like to press. And Brad Grundy and Corey Miller are kind of, well, they basically spent the whole training session teaching Brian Shaw how to set up properly to execute a top roll. And these are things you'll know that if you've been in the sport for a while, but oftentimes newer guys, they don't really think about keeping the match on their side of the table. They often will go to grip up with their opponent, and they will kind of go wherever their opponent takes them. So they may be way off center, but they don't really think about it. It's just not something that comes to mind if you're relatively new to the sport. Well, either Brad or Corey Miller were really emphasizing, keep that match on your side of the table. You need to have a ton of like static back pressure in the setup before the ref says go, because if you don't, you will just get ran over. So that was one thing. Another thing they focused on was maintaining height, maintaining the high knuckle. But the thing that I was really, and that I have been critical of Brian's technique with in the past, is just how badly he gets extended. And if he is able to stay tighter, stay kind of more locked in a static position like that, he's going to naturally maintain that height a little bit better, and he's not going to get extended so easily. Because that kind of happened in his match with Eddie Hall and it happened in his match with Brandon Allen. Now, granted, he won both. He won both of those matches, so you can't criticize him too much because he is winning, and the level of competition that he's facing is steadily going up. And I would say this new match announcement, Leonidas Arcona, this is a good step up. I don't think it's like a ridiculous step up. Like Brandon Allen is a strong dude. And I think Leonidas is probably a level above Brandon Allen, if not maybe a couple levels. I would say Leonidas Arcona is one of the most talented guys that have made the switch. So you've got these bodybuilders like Larry Wheels, strongmen like Brian Shaw that have been recently making the switch to arm wrestling. And oftentimes, I mean, these are athletic guys, but they just don't pick up arm wrestling very naturally. And I would say Leonidas, to me, looks like the most talented, naturally gifted arm wrestler that I've seen make the switch. And I think the fact that he, in his match with John Brzezinski, he took John's hand. That's not something everybody can do. Now, John pulled a win out of somewhere, and that was one of the greatest matches of John Brzezinski's career, in my opinion, just because he was able to show so many aspects of his game. But anyways, the reason I bring that up is just to say Leonidas is very good. But John Brzezinski, even in his old age, he is still at the top or near the top. He's not a number one guy anymore. Don't get me wrong. I know that, but he can still hang with the best. And the fact that Leonidas was able to take his hand and make that a competitive matchup, I think bodes well for him. And if he has been at all committed to the sport since then, which I'm not sure if he has been, this is going to be a tough match for Brian Shaw, because I do think Leonidas is absolutely the more gifted, naturally gifted arm wrestler out of the two. So honestly, at this time, I don't have a prediction for that match. I would maybe predict Brian, just because of the sheer size and strength advantage. And he will be consistently improving up until their match, obviously. And I think with these new top roll secrets that he's been getting taught by the best in the game when it comes to knowledge, Brad Grundy and especially Corey Miller, these guys know what they're doing. They absolutely know what they're doing. So he's getting taught by the best. Let's see if he can put it to use in an actual match. So very excited for that one. Let's move on to the Ryan Bowen versus Bogdan Stoica drama. So you guys have probably heard about this by now, but we'll talk about it anyway. Robert Baxter does not like Ryan Bowen, and I don't think we're going to see that match at East versus West. I think Ryan has probably burned too many bridges at this point to really warrant getting that match. But I mean, what is the takeaway here? We have to see this match. I mean, you can love Ryan or hate him. Many of you probably would fall into the latter category. I find him to be incredibly entertaining. And maybe it's on purpose on his part, or maybe it's just accidental lolcow behavior. But whatever it is, he makes for a great character, a great villain in the world of arm wrestling. And if that match were to happen, it would be huge. I would absolutely be invested and interested in seeing that match. So I'd like to know what you guys think. Do you think that Ryan's behavior in the past, not making weight at Knuckles Up, doing all these sorts of things to kind of tarnish his relationship with certain organizations, do you think that warrants a, I don't know, a lifetime ban from these organizations? Do you think we should see this match? I think we absolutely should. And even if he did do something, he misses weight or he does this or that, it makes for good promotion. So I am interested in seeing that match. Do I agree with Robert Baxter when he says Bogdan has just increased in strength and skill so much so that the match would no longer be close? Because if you guys remember, they did have a match already at Neil Pickup's promotion, Arm Wars. And in that match, Ryan, I would say he destroyed Bogdan. And when Ryan says he's got the keys to Bogdan's wrist, if you are to take that match for what it is, you would have to agree with him that he does, in fact, have the keys to Bogdan's wrist. He took Bogdan's hand pretty easily in, I believe, every round of that super match. And it was only towards the end when Ryan's endurance started to fail him that Bogdan ever really had any sort of luck or success. So I would say that match today, they've both clearly gotten bigger and stronger, and Ryan is, from the looks of it, he is sauced. He is juiced to the gills. So I don't think that match would be a blowout, and I think Ryan's level might be significantly higher than some of us think. He does have some losses that you would... His losses aren't really that bad, though. It's like he lost to Coach Ray. He kind of had an iffy moment in his match with Khaled after Khaled had a war with Schoolboy, and I think a lot of people saw that and it was like, dude, Khaled's completely beat up and he almost like top rolled you. But honestly, Ryan's pretty good, and I think that match would not be a complete blowout on either side. I'd probably predict Bogdan to win that one just because of how strong and fast he looked against Paul Lynn. And Paul Lynn is no slouch. Paul Lynn is very strong and he is very fast as well. And for him to get just ran over like that, that's pretty impressive. I think Bogdan has definitely made some serious progress since their last match. But anyways, let me know, who do you think would win, and do you even want to see that match? Do you think Ryan should even be at East versus West as a competitor? I gotta say, I like Ryan's commentary. This is kind of off topic, but I do think he's actually one of the better commentators in the sport. But anyways, let's move on. So we've got the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, this has been the topic of some debate in the arm wrestling community lately, with the majority of people believing it is ugly, and correctly so. I'm going off the top of my head. I want to say I've seen polls where it's like 70-30 in terms of people in favor of the what's it called now? The Legacy Hammer. 70% of people would prefer the Legacy Hammer over the 30% of people who prefer the Infinity Gauntlet. Those may not be the exact statistics, but it is definitely the minority of people who would like to keep the Infinity Gauntlet. I think the Infinity Gauntlet was a good idea in theory, because what is our sport about? Well, it's about the hand and the forearm, right? So what better to represent our sport than a hand and a forearm, the Infinity Gauntlet, essentially. Great idea. But we already had a very recognizable trophy that represented our sport, right? Every major sport has their iconic award. You know, the Super Bowl has I don't know what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about, the little pedestal with the football on top, and then hockey has the Stanley Cup, and then baseball's got the World Series. It's got all those flags and everything. You guys know what I'm talking about. Every sport has their recognizable trophy. We already had that with the Legacy Hammer, and it looks awesome. When you raise that hammer up, it makes for an amazing photo opportunity. When you hold up the Infinity Gauntlet like this, it looks kind of childish. Like there's a picture of like Dennis Saplankov holding it, and he kind of just looks like a little boy holding up like a toy. I don't know. And he's huge. He's a huge human being. So I just think that the whole aesthetic of the hammer is just so much more intimidating, and I don't know. It just portrays strength in a way that I don't feel the Infinity Gauntlet does. So let me know what you would do. Let me know what you think about it. Would you like to melt the gauntlet and just have a gold-plated Legacy Hammer? I think that would actually be the best way of resolving this for both parties. It's like, well, we're not getting rid of the Infinity Gauntlet. It's just becoming something greater. The two are becoming one. I think that'd be pretty cool. But anyways, that's kind of all I have to say about it. I think most people are in agreement that it was a good idea. It just didn't really execute on its job. So let's move on. So there are a few matches that I'd like to talk about that are going to be happening at the upcoming card, East versus West 22 in Vienna. And these are in no particular order, but the first one I'd like to talk about is one of my favorite arm wrestlers, Matt Mask versus Davit Arubali. Sorry, I was about to say Davit Samusha. That is not happening. It is Matt Mask versus Davit Arubali. I have not seen a ton of Davit Arubali pulling. I know he faced Lachlan Adair, and they had a really good hook war. He has a very good hook. He can hang with the best guys in a hook. And he's Georgian, so that's cool. Yeah, he's good. He's got a good press as well. He demonstrated his ability to press in his match against Chance Shaw. But his match with Chance Shaw is the reason why I'm picking Matt Mask to win this one. Chance was beating him up in the top roll, and I think Chance probably fumbled that match. I think Chance should have beaten Davit. I'm going off of my memory here, but I do think he kind of lost that match on fouls because he was absolutely ripping through Davit Arubali, and I think Matt is just as explosive as Chance Shaw, if not more. He's got a bigger hand, and he's got a better low hand top roll, and we all know the low hand top roll is the perfect counter to a hook puller. The only thing that gives me pause is the fact that Davit is good in the press, but I don't know that he can necessarily get there without top rolling first, like he did with Chance Shaw. And if he does top roll, I think Matt Mask is going to have him so far on his side of the table that getting into a press is not going to be really the best option or a winning option at that. So I'm going to give that one to Matt Mask. Let's move on to another big match. Some may say a bigger match, Kamil Jablonski versus the monster Michael Todd. This is a rematch. The first match was a little bit odd. I believe the first match between the two is what sparked that whole discussion last year around the fairness of the King's move. That I believe that was when like Giannis and Devon had their debate on the Voice of Arm Wrestling channel about the fairness of the King's move and the rules regarding it. That match was very close. Kamil spent that entire match about this close to pinning Michael. So does Kamil do the same thing? I've heard that Kamil has started working on his outside game. And funnily enough, we saw that in his match with Jerry Cataret, which, by the way, was one of the most entertaining matches I've ever seen. That had me on my feet, if you can believe it. So that was an incredible match. Do I think his outside game is going to come into play in his match against Michael Todd? I don't think so. He's probably thinking that he's going to do something like Hermes did, where he's going to climb, get over that top knuckle of Michael and then press. I don't think he can do that. He is not going to have the ability to climb like Hermes does. So I kind of think it'll be somewhat of a repeat of the first match. Michael's going to gas him out and then flash pin him with his press. So I'm going to give this one to Monster Michael Todd. Not only that, I know we say this about every Monster Michael Todd match, but this probably is his last chance at Levon. He really needs to win this. I know we said that with the Hermes thing, and then he lost to Hermes and was like, I'm going to come down and wait. I really do think this time, because he's like 51 years old, right? So I really do think this time is probably his last chance. And I think that's going to put some fire under him. And let's be honest, whether he deserves it or not, we have to see Michael Todd versus Levon. Michael Todd cannot leave the super heavyweight division without having faced Levon. And yes, we all know Levon's going to beat him. I don't think there's really any chance that Michael would beat him, but is anyone going to beat Levon? I don't think so. I personally don't think so. I don't think anyone is even close. And honestly, that last match that he had with Hermes this is a topic for another time, but that might have been one of the worst things for arm wrestling, in my opinion. I think the fact that the only matches we care about in the super heavyweight division are who's number 2, I think that's terrible for arm wrestling. The fact that we just have this completely unbeatable champ, which may be changing now that Levon has had another injury, and that's unfortunate for him. I'm not wishing injury on anyone, but I don't really think it'll affect him that much. You guys remember when he tore a tendon in his wrist when he was like wrist curling, it was like 90 or 100 kg, ridiculous. But he came back and he was fine. So I don't think that he's gonna be moving in the rankings anytime soon. But anyways, I'm getting off topic now. I will give that one to Monster Michael Todd, and I really hope he pulls it off. You know, if a miracle happens, maybe he becomes number 1. I don't think that'll happen, but we need to see the match. So anyways, let's move on. This is maybe the match that I am most excited about. This is Oleg Petrenko versus Todd Hutchings. This one is probably the hardest one for me to predict because Oleg Petrenko he's so versatile and he's so good everywhere. He has a very good top roll, a very good hook. He can press. What can't he do? That's not really the question, though. The question is, can he contend with what Todd is going to be throwing in his direction? And I don't think he can, because somehow at like 60 years of age, Todd is still getting better. And I think his last match with Irakli was evidence of that. He went from, in their first match, just blasting sideways through Irakli, to now, in their third match, top rolling Irakli. Just straight up top rolling. He has perfected his Todd roll. The side pressure based, pronation based top roll that he does. He has perfected that. And has Oleg Petrenko ever felt anything like that? Have they faced in the past? I don't think so. I don't think they have. You could maybe educate me on this. But I don't know. I'm really, my bias definitely is playing a part in this prediction because I'm going to predict Todd Hutchings to win. But man, Oleg, I know Oleg is going to be much bigger than him on stage, and he's going to have the bigger muscles, and it's going to look like Todd is the underdog, but I think he can pull it off. I don't think Oleg has ever faced the kind of pressure that, like, does Oleg do to Irakli what Todd did? I don't know that he does. Does Todd struggle with Nugo the way Oleg struggled with Nugo? Even though he did win convincingly, there were moments. I don't know. I don't know that he does. I think Todd probably makes quick work of Nugo, and that might be kind of a hot take. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but I'm going to give this one to Todd, and I will feel very good if my prediction ends up being correct. Let's move on to the last one. This one also, some of you are probably going to absolutely flip when you hear what I'm going to say here. Or maybe it's just a very average take. I think Vitaly, in most people's minds, is the favorite by a long shot. I think Devon's going to win this, and I'll tell you why. This is a 7-round super match. I don't think Devon's going to shut it out 4-0. I don't think that. But I do think Devon will get the stop, even if it's in round 3. And once he gets the stop, I don't think Vitaly comes back and wins another round. Because, okay, Vitaly's a very good top roller, one of the best. He's got great side pressure. He's very explosive. Even when he loses his wrist, he still can go sideways. But I don't think if he loses his wrist against Devon that he's going to be able to go sideways through Devon's King's move. I don't think he'll get close. He'll get close. But I don't think he can press through it. I'm not very impressed with Vitaly's ability to press. There's a lot of presses there. So I think once Devon is able to achieve the high knuckle and maintain that pronation, I can't see Vitaly just going sideways and extending Devon enough to where it's a pin. And I don't see him flop pressing either. I don't think that's going to get it done. I think it's possible that maybe outside of straps, Vitaly pins Devon. We all know Vitaly's got some of the strongest grip strength in the world, so it's very possible that he gets a few pins outside of straps, holding onto the thumb of Devon. But I think in straps, at least by round 3, Devon will get the stop, and after that, Vitaly is not going to have a whole lot of options. I don't think the press is going to do it. I don't think the explosive side pressure hits are going to bring Devon's hand low enough to be considered a pin. So I'm curious, though, if you do think Vitaly's going to just blow through him, because I think that's what Vitaly has to do, right? I mean, he has to absolutely blow through him and keep hand dominance. I don't think he can win without it. So if you do believe that Vitaly is going to win, in what way do you believe he will win? Do you think he will just maintain hand dominance the whole time? Or do you think he does have the ability to just flash pin him, maybe outside of straps? I'd be very curious to hear. As far as the popular opinion goes, I do think Vitaly's probably the favorite, just because he has been much more active than Devon, and Devon has only recently started training his left arm again. So anyways, I will be pretty happy if my Devon prediction and my Todd Hutchings prediction go as I think they will go, but we shall see. I did want to mention some things that I just totally forgot to get to in the intro. I talked about why I've been off of YouTube for like the last 8 months. And the reason for that is just because I did have some responsibilities come up that just completely eliminated YouTube from the agenda. Those responsibilities have become easier to take care of for me, so I do have the ability to do this now. But in my time off, I did help with the development of an arm wrestling club. Myself and a few other guys. We've got an arm wrestling club in the Spokane area of Washington State. And we meet every Saturdays. If you are ever in the area, feel free to join us to pool. Any skill level is fine. You're always welcome. I do have a YouTube channel specifically dedicated to posting like practice compilation videos. I post one every week, so I will leave a link to that channel in the description. We also have a Facebook group. It's just called the Spokane Arm Wrestling Club. It's a private group, so you have to request to get in. And that's just, I just did that so that we didn't get like bots and just random people joining. But anyways, that's been really good. So although I have been off of the internet side of the arm wrestling world, I have actually been more committed to arm wrestling in the past 8 months than I ever have been before, especially when I was doing YouTube previously. So anyways, I just wanted to let you guys know that. You'll probably see some of the training footage on the screen, but thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate that. If you like the new setup, if you like this kind of format that I'm going for, please let me know. I'm hoping these videos are kind of like a nice long form video that you can just sit down at your dining room table and just like eat a bowl of cereal and just watch the video. That's kind of the vibe that I'm going for. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.